Уважаемые
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you on the panel section, which is organized by Business Russia. Our topic is the advantages and specific features of creating high-tech production on the markets of the countries of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which we organize within the 15th International Economic Forum, Russia and the Islamic World, Kazan Forum 2024. My name is Dmitry Antonov, and I am the member of the General Council and the business ambassador of the Business Russia to Iran. This is my public duty, but I'm also senior vice president of Agricultural Group Resource, the largest Russian producer and exporter of poultry, and one of the leaders on the market of vegetable oils. Before we begin, I would like to thank the organizers of the forum for inviting Business Russia to this venue. Currently, the dynamics of our business with partners from friendly Islamic states has transitioned to a qualitatively new level. We are looking at new ways of logistics, we are looking at new methods of creating financial operations, and we implement our projects both in Russia and in the countries of the OIC. The governments of our countries understand the importance of support and development of business, and so they actively develop new methods and raise foreign investments. Our agenda today will include a discussion of the means and ways of economic cooperation between Russia and the countries of OIC, the new possibilities of economic growth, which might occur after the placement of Russian high-tech production based in special economic zones. It is my pleasure to see some friendly faces, friendly organizations among speakers, which is yet another confirmation that our event takes place at the right time. A couple of words about procedure of today's meeting. We're working for 1 hour and 30 minutes, so I would kindly ask our speakers to keep to the schedule of up to 5 minutes per speaker. If you are speaking more than that, I will have to regretfully remind you about our schedule. I hope that our session will include some good discussion, and after that, all the speakers will learn the true possibilities of business development in terms of high-tech business. And here I would like to tell you that even the businesses which we traditionally do not consider as high-tech ones, they are becoming that. They are becoming exactly just that, and every day the level of technology becomes higher and higher. I'm speaking from my perspective, from my standpoint in agriculture, but today agriculture is interwoven with high technology. The equipment, the technology, the outset, and so on. So I think I mentioned all the procedural questions. Considering the changes of the geopolitical situation and economic vectors, the interest between Russia and OIC is mutually growing. The process of localization of Russian production companies to friendly countries is supported at the levels of the President and of the government of the Russian Federation. Specifically, it is supported by the Ministry of Industry and Trade, and we are doing some intensive work on building cooperation with foreign countries and development and implementation of different mechanisms of support of export-oriented business. I would like to say that we welcome the active engagement of operation in the countries of Shanghai Organization of Cooperation and BRICS. Tremendous amount of work is performed by the Russian Export Center, and I think that my colleagues will uphold my words. One of the problems with which we are we are facing in any sector and in companies of any size, including giants of business, even though for them it is true to a lesser extent, this is the possibility of entering foreign markets, lack of recognition, lack of understanding of doing business in new markets. Therefore, many Russian manufacturers enter the free economic zones, using them as an as a mechanism to which they are accustomed. In this way, they are able to label their countries with the code of the country where it was localized for the possibility of further re-export to other countries. However, this thesis does not hold true for food products and agricultural products. Even if they are processed within free economic zones, it does not mean that agricultural products may change the country of origin under their current WTO regulations. In this instance, I would like to ask a question to the head of development of international products of a Russian Export Center, our partner in the United Arab Emirates. So, the representative of Russian Export Center at the United Arab Emirates, Mr. Jabari Najibullah Ghafarzoda. And I'm going to ask you these questions. How are free economic zones interesting for Russian business? How does the Russian Export Center integrate its support mechanisms into their projects? And are there what are the specifics of placing the high-tech manufacturing in the OIC countries? Thank you very much. And I would like to start by saying that I am really grateful to the organizers for this section, working in different special economic zones and clusters. First and foremost, I would like to say that the countries of OIC are our utmostly important partners, and we are strongly counting on our cooperation, that it will be very fruitful, specifically in terms of development of trade and economic relations. Speaking of the latter, I would like to say that with the current position of the Russian business, we would really like to use the resources of various countries to make at least partial localization and further export or re-export to third countries of the region. And here we interact actively with the countries of OIC. A lot has been done and a lot is being done by such partners as UAE, as Saudi Arabia, as Turkey, the Islamic Republic of Iran. Yes, we can see that there is an interest of Russian business in mastering these markets, in entering these markets using the country-specific mechanisms. If we speak about different special economic zones, clusters, industrial areas, we cannot omit the role of IT, which we are actively developing. And in this aspect, the UAE is very active. Just 2 weeks ago, we held a large-scale event, a business mission of 30 countries, which went to the United Arab Emirates. And during their visit, we took part in 3 or 4 clusters: Dubai Internet City, Masdab, the Dubai Silicon Valley. So whilst meeting with these structures and the organizations, we saw keen interest on their part, and we see a keen interest on the part of our companies. So there are a lot of clusters at the moment. There is strong competition between them. And so the companies have a possibility of find the right partner for them. Of course, the winner will be the economic zones, which, apart from regular localization, will provide different kinds of services, such as opening accounts, finding offices, finding premises, maintenance during negotiations, assistance and promotion, etc. We see that the countries have it. We see that the structures are in winning positions. We, as the Russian Export Center, are making active use of these mechanisms. We assist our companies in having connections with the structures, and we are able to provide the guarantee support to our companies, non-financial support to our companies in the countries of the Islamic world. Specifically, we have quite a lot of events in the United Arab Emirates. 2 or 3 business missions have been held in the Turkish Republic, a couple in Iran, a couple in Saudi Arabia, and such countries as Northern Africa, Algeria, Egypt. They truly deserve a whole different story about them. We regard them as the Russian industrial zone. Nevertheless, we put our maximum effort in making this interest turn into some specific steps. The most important factor is to provide additional services to our customers. Among our speakers today, there are some companies and structures and clusters and economic zones which provide not only the, let's say, conventional measures of support, but also provide some very targeted, very specific measures of support. Because before even thinking about localizing and relocating, our companies always need to have a better understanding how well their goods will be selling in this or that market. So that's it from my part, and I will be glad to answer your questions.
So I would like to support the message that you just made, that by working with free economic zones, we should apply all the use all the tools offered by our trade representative offices. In particular, Business Russia has business ambassadors in many countries that are of a special interest in light of the business development, i.e. This isn't complex work. It requires clear understanding what we want, and I guess we can use the existing qualified opinion on this topic. In furtherance of this topic of doing business in the UAE, I should say that in this country, the economic zones are one of the most open ones and transparent ones, and they're looking forward to attracting, luring in business, and they're ready to offer support to foreign investors, international investors. Free economic zone KIZAD offers the opportunity for registering onshore free zone companies in Abu Dhabi Emirates, and such companies can operate both inside UAE and abroad. So many companies are now looking into this opportunity, both in terms of entering international markets and opening companies on beneficial terms with the short logistics, with the beneficial logistics. This is not just plain words. This is not theory. We've been tracking this project for some time now. The KIZAD project. We signed a preliminary resource signed a preliminary memorandum of understanding. Next week, we'll be hosting the first vice president of the Free Economic Zone KIZAD, and we will be discussing the possibility of localization of production in Dubai. We liked the rates as well as the location of this free economic zone, and we're prepared to develop poultry processing as well as the delivery of such products to our consumers in the UAE. Here with us is the director for sales and development of KIZAD, Ms. Jamila Ahli. Please take the floor is yours. I'd like to thank you. I would like to ask you to address the following issues. What attracts high-tech manufacturing companies from all around the world to UAE, number one? And a sub-question would be, in Kizad, I know that you have major manufacturers, poultry manufacturers, food producers that strive to work in your zone. How is the ecosystem in Kizad different from other free economic zones in the UAE? For example, our company has been resident of Jebel Ali for some time now. Do you have examples of Russian companies that launched high-tech production in your free economic zone? And yet, what support measures do you offer to companies from the Eurasian Trade and Industrial Hub? The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us today. To address your first question with regards to what attracts foreign companies and high-tech manufacturing companies to be present within the UAE. So basically, there are several key elements really with regards to attracting foreign companies and being present in the UAE, which basically one of them is the strategic location of the UAE, where not only can they thrive and strive within the region, but also they can be connected to the rest of the world via multimodal connectivity. There's also an attractive business environment within the UAE where, for example, there are several tax incentives, 0% tax on income, 0% customs duty, and as well as 100% foreign ownership. When we're looking at Abu Dhabi's strategy and ecosystem as well, it really encourages smart manufacturing in Abu Dhabi, where the industrial strategy promotes Industry 4.0, and Kizad is at the forefront of implementing these technologies within our economic zones. Basically, when it comes to what's different within Kizad, so basically Kizad governs 12 economic zones, and the size of Kizad being covering 550 square kilometers of land spread across Abu Dhabi allows us to take a sectorial approach that promotes industrial collaboration within Abu Dhabi. So we offer several offerings such as service lands, pre-built facilities, as well as workstations. So this caters to all sizes of businesses from international companies to establish a presence, and Kizad would be their one-stop shop for that. And what we have done is the digital cluster has created Jusur, an online platform for all these companies to collaborate with each other. And because we take a sectorial approach within Kizad, basically we have several sectors within Kizad. So we have the metal sector, we have the polymers sector, and we have the growing sector, and which you are part of, which is the F&B, the life sciences, and we attract upstream, midstream, and downstream companies within each of these sectors to ensure collaboration and ensure sustainable growth between those sectors. And basically, given the multimodal connectivity that we have within Kizad and its close proximity to international airports as well as ports, which Khalifa Port being one of them, that is in close proximity with our economic zones, it facilitates trade easily within the region and globally as well. Now, when it comes to Russian companies establishing a presence within Kizad, we have several Russian companies that have done that. And a good example of one of the high-tech companies that have established a presence is Epitom, which is a 3D printer manufacturing company that is utilized for industrial and commercial use and is using Kizad as a hub to export their products globally. And obviously, this is with the support of the Eurasian Hub that is basically supporting Russian companies to establish a presence within within Abu Dhabi and the UAE by offering them several business solutions and market entry strategies, as well as supporting them with finding their way with regards to the UAE laws and regulations, as well as business matching to ensure that the ease of market entry, as well as ensuring that they grow in the UAE, as well as across the globe. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Спасибо большое. Благодарю вас.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Arhiza. That was quite an impressive presentation. Thank you. I hope Kizad Economic Zone will have a new impetus for growth on the part of the Russian business, Russian companies. This free economic zone combines the features of a technology park, free economic zone, and the entities, companies present there can serve other residents as both logistics operator as well as transporter of products. First and foremost, it's important for companies that produce products that require storage facilities or storage. Despite the popularity of such free economic zones in the world and attractive terms for luring in international business, in particular, my company that I mentioned, we've been doing exports. We've been exporting for some time, for some years. We don't see that many companies localizing their production in the UAE as well as other countries. And in my view, this is going to be an explosive growth that we will see such growth in the near term. Yet the experience in transport technologies, we have such experience. One of the most successful cases is Uralchem Innovatsy. The company searches, tests, and implements high-tech solutions in agricultural industry. Its assets include chemical, agro lab, as well as the one and only in Russia pilot unit for vegetable protein production. Konstantin, as far as I know, you have extensive experience operating in the Middle East and with Middle Eastern countries in UAE and Oman in particular. Speaking of Oman, I should say that many Russian companies look at these free economic zones as not just an opportunity to locate, but also to redirect their products in other countries of the same region. So I would like to ask you to share your experience in working in operating in these countries, and maybe you could share your view on the barriers that you encountered, and maybe something that you would like to advise your colleagues that want to enter OIC countries with their products. Well, thank you very much. Thank you to the organizers and Business Russia for this opportunity to share this information. If you have a clicker, I would be more than happy to share. So let me start by addressing your questions. In fact, Uralchem is indeed a global company. Uralchem operates in around 100 countries of the world because fertilizers are required and needed in many countries of the world. And in the UAE, we have one of the hubs, trading hubs. We use DMCC zone, which is trade, because it's trading. It's a trading activity, but it's a somewhat different type of business. We're talking about logistics rather than technologies. But still, being a global company, we keep ourselves abreast of what innovations exist and what the innovations that change the world and that change the industry, agribusiness and food industry. We tend to seize all the opportunities. And so UAE, for example, I would agree with you that in the near decade and currently, there's a revolution going on in agriculture, quote unquote. So let me cite a couple of examples for you. Working with innovations around the world, we still use the support of the Russian startup companies. We intend to help them and to help them grow the technologies in these areas, plant growing and vegetable growing, and we believe that it's a great moment for the Russian tech companies to enter these overseas markets, in particular OIC markets. Our experience validates it. Why do I believe so? OIC markets normally feature extensive demand for food sustainability, and they demonstrate high interest in investments and high interest in innovative products. And I can confidently say, because we know the Russian stack, over the past 2 years, Russian startups received a boost in their development. We have demonstrated, we've seen new projects popping up, projects that are export ready or export mature. And so the key thesis, the key message I would like to give you is that Russia should be seen not just as food supplier or commodity supplier, or let's say raw material supplier, but also as a supplier of technologies. Indeed, in my view, OIC countries are most prepared to do so because these are the countries that appreciate technologies. UAE is one such example. In particular, there are cheap multipliers or multipliers for Russian companies. We understand the uniqueness of this situation, yet I believe UAE investors and UAE companies should seize this opportunity and should capitalize on this. Some of the examples are these so-called, right? One of the examples is the AgriSignal. I'm a member of the board of directors of this company. So this company can provide seamless technologies to any company or any companies that are engaged in vegetable growing in the Middle Eastern region and other regions. So it's an opportunity for fast and simple exports of technologies to OIC countries, to OIC markets. Since the technology is a rather versatile one, you can use satellite data to analyze soils around the world. So the technology is quite applicable. Second example I would like to cite is the so-called new proteins. It's the technology that, on the other hand, changes or disrupts the industry from the other end. When it comes to value creation chain, we can obtain cheap protein that can be applied on meat, poultry, confectionery, and other industries. And Russia has its own proprietary technology in this area, and there's nothing that hinders us from creating new companies based on applying this technology in OIC countries. We held talks about that in Oman and other countries. We have high interest shown to this area. We should strive to supply technologies, not products, not commodities. In this light, the innovative potential of the Russian companies is quite high. Well, thank you very much. But I should also support your comments and say that by delivering technologies and competencies, we should anticipate additional competencies, additional technologies from the countries that we begin cooperating with. You know full well that these countries are in more complex conditions agriculturally, so they have quite extensive competencies in the areas that you are talking about. So if we combine, if we use the synergies here, we can end up with high quality solutions in these respective areas. But by the way, speaking of new proteins, I advised one Iranian company to contact you yesterday with regard to this particular question. That's quite a valuable suggestion. Thank you. In furtherance, I'd like to give the floor to the next speaker who can share their experience in relocating company, opening branch in the Middle East, Executive Director of Chromos Engineering, Alexander Makarov. Alexander, your company has been supplying complex lab equipment, laboratory equipment, chromatography equipment, and metal processing equipment. Could you please share your experience in locating production in OIC countries, in particular in the Middle East and Northern African countries? Do you agree with Konstantin's points or maybe comments, or maybe you could offer something from your side? Dear colleagues, good afternoon. Thank you, dear colleagues, for this opportunity to speak online. As far as our experience goes, we initially began to actively cooperate with Uzbekistan and the countries of the former Soviet Union. I should note that the key incentive for us was to change for example, the nature of cooperation with Uzbekistan, Iran. We see a lot of trends going on with UAE. Everyone wants to become technologically independent. And I believe that the key factor for the Russian companies would be that particular solution, because when it comes to purchasing in these countries, there are changes taking place. And we see the trends that these countries offer incentives to local companies or to international companies that localize their production in these countries. One of the key requirements is the percentage of localization of a particular product. As of today, our company reached 60% localization of our products in Uzbekistan. As of today, when it comes to UAE, we set up a production facility, 1,000 square meter production facility, where we parked our equipment, and we have a small office there. And as of today, we rented land from Dubai Industrial City in order to build a full-fledged production facility there in the near future.
Меня слышно?
Да, вас слышно.
Yes, please go ahead. We can hear you well.
Презентацию.
I'll have a presentation going. Do you see my slide or? No, not yet. Yes, now we can see your slide. So this is in fact the future company of ours, production facility, where we will be producing lab chromatographers and industrial grade chromatographers, as well as laboratory metal furniture for laboratories. When it comes to support, I should say that we've been actively using the services of the Russian Export Center. And I'd like to note and emphasize the fact that you can not only use services of business missions or expos, the Russian Export Center also renders support in terms of product certification, in terms of market studies. The center helps companies to run preliminary market research, to understand basic needs. Therefore, this enabled us to make the right decisions from the onset, and we were able to save, to cut costs when it comes to travel costs, business travel costs, etc. So we've been using Business Russia services. We're now taking part in the event that's taking place in China. We sent our employees to hold business talks there in order to, with the purpose of supplying our equipment there. I would also like to mention that in addition to what I've already said, there is support that we enjoy support from Rosstandart, which is the Russian Standard Certification Agency. So in Iran, Rosstandart helps us implement the Russian standard, and we can say that we can not only methodologically implement a particular standard in any particular country, but we can also make sure that that standard is supported by high-tech Russian equipment that is supplied in line in compliance with this standard. So we believe this is an advantage, quite a significant advantage for such Russian companies that whenever these companies want to enter any international markets. So I should also say that we are talking to companies from Azerbaijan, India, China, where we not only expect to export our products, but we've also been able to locate some key partners in these countries with whom we're in the process of signing the relevant agreements in order to sell our products in these markets. So that's it from my side, dear colleagues. If you have any questions, I'm ready to address those questions. Thank you.
Спасибо.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to see your new lines of business and your new success. We've been cooperating in Iran in supplies of your equipment to Iran, and I can see that all the lines of your business are expanding and are filled with new content, as it were. A few words about the agricultural group resource. We are engaged in the work of competence centers in cattle breeding and vegetable farming. Our work is aimed at forming the IT landscapes, creating requirements for products in import replacement, selection of most important products in the digitalization of business processes for future implementation. Similar products are being implemented in other industries. Some projects are receiving financing through Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Digital Development. And before we hand over the floor to Anna Lavrentieva, Senior Vice President of Novicom Bank, Anna Lavrentieva, how does Novicom Bank participate in financing high-tech production? Maybe you have some measures of support for this kind of industry. I remember we had a chance to talk before the start of this section, and I'm sure everybody will be very interested in learning just that. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I represent Novicom. This is an affiliated bank of Rostec. We have been on the market for over 30 years, and we've been providing support to high-tech industries and organizations from the industries which are engaged with new technology and their implementation. In this quite a long period, we've been in close cooperation between financial support and production processes, because we've been financing production of products on all stages of its life cycle. I would like to share a few of my observations. So there are specific barriers for export, and when we are starting to structurize the transaction, first and foremost, we are asking the company who is going to be the buyer of this product. And sometimes we see that this is exactly the major barrier. There is no guaranteed demand in those large quantities and volumes, which would otherwise enable the organization to cover the existing expenditure and the potential expenditure when entering a new market. This is point number one. And point number two is that some companies really need restructuring of their product to ensure it is best fit to customers on new markets. This is also a barrier and a difficulty, and this has to be overcome. Otherwise, the specifics of the product will be so important for the new customer. Its color, its shape, its functionality. These are the fundamentals of successful exportation of the product. It has to be taken into account, as well as such factors as legislation on quality, packaging, advertising, customs, and taxation law. So at the outset, this has to be taken into consideration apart from other measures of support provided by the special economic zone. So we need to provide in-depth consultation materials which would facilitate partnership between all the stakeholders in the process, including the banks as the major investor or leverage money providers. Credit risk, of course, is extremely important for the banks, but the higher the demand of the product, the lower the credit risk. So one of the measures of support which we are able to provide would be consultations, or provision of consultation materials, specifically in part of specifics of national consumption and preferences of local customers. Our programs, well, for 3 years already, we've been working with preferential programs. From sometimes we even freeze the base rate in our products. We had no changes in our interest rate with the volatility of the base rate of the central bank, up to specific programs such as export support, which ensured uninterrupted financing in the new conditions. Of course, our attention goes to digital finance assets. Today we have a unique project for the organizations, especially organizations which are under sanctions. This will be indeed a new form of attracting loan funds, of raising loan funds, and potentially it can be used in cross-border payments. There are some practical questions of using digital assets in international payments. There has to be a certain infrastructure, and that infrastructure has to be at the same time in all countries, and it has to be aligned with all the allowances at law in using the digital rights as collateral in the transactions. And we find it necessary that platforms cooperate with one another. But we see that both the emittents and the investors are working in the same direction. So we are expecting the digital financial assets to appear on the market soon, and it will provide new opportunities for exports to develop. So this will enable us to raise to attract a lot of high-tech companies, increase the quantity of cross-border projects, and to provide financing on preferential conditions to the Russian financial and banking sector. Therein lies our future. And with that, I thank you for your attention. Oh, I believe this was quite an interesting thing to listen to a banker. We know that there is the Islamic Bank of Development, and having talked to you in the fields of the forum, I would like to make the following point. You spoke about a couple of things in this partnering. First, a bank is our co-partner because the bank provides us the money, and the bank has to understand the business we are planning to do abroad. And second, you ensure transactions and ensure payments that go around between us and our customers. We have to be looking for local solutions which would be applicable to a group of countries, be it OIC, be it BRICS, or the Shanghai Organization of Cooperation. And I would like to thank you for your effort that you are giving here. In the continuation of our discussion, I would like to give the floor to an expert from another country. That country has a huge potential for development of business. I'm going to give the floor to the director of the Special Economic Zone from Uzbekistan. Lots of experts agree upon Uzbekistan being the most interesting country in doing business in some aspects. Uzbekistan receives a lot of investments and a lot of space for business development. Besides, Uzbekistan gives a lot of support to innovative products. The floor goes to Habib Abdullayev, head of Special Economic Zone Navoi. Could you please share your experience in creating high-tech economics projects in Uzbekistan and specifically in the SEZ Navoi, and about the advantages and benefits of your special economic zone? Good afternoon. Maybe it would be better for me not to dwell on specifics of the economic zone. It will be quite boring. Believe you me, we do have the opportunities and the infrastructure. Our electricity is never shut down. You know that Uzbekistan consumes a lot of electrical energy, and that would be one of the problems to provide enough electricity to all of the venues. But we are in Russia now, and we are speaking as if the world is still the same and there are no complications around, but they are around. And if we speak about Russian and Uzbek cooperation, we feel those complications. Quite recently, our Russian partners started asking us about the problems that their payments in yuan in China are not coming through. So the situation is really becoming uncomfortable, and so we need to adapt to it. So our topic today is high-tech production sites. And what does it take? It takes components. There are Russian companies that want to develop their production in whatever country. There being some limitations in Russia. And so let's say a Russian company wants to open a production site in a different jurisdiction. And let's say this jurisdiction is in Uzbekistan. Here, we open a window of opportunities. These restrictions are not yet covering Uzbekistan as far as supplies of components are concerned. And therefore, our hypothetical Russian company, having created its facility in Uzbekistan and receiving components from other countries, very unfriendly countries, it still will be able to sell the end product certified as made in Uzbekistan. It will be able to export it back to Russia. And I think this is one of the most vital phenomena at the moment. Maybe it's one of the most important trends currently. Placing production in Uzbekistan allows you to avoid these complications in a completely legal way. Of course, there are some pleasant moments, such as 50% of transport expenditures when transporting goods to Russia is covered by the budget of Uzbekistan. But this maybe is one of the key moments. This is obstacle-free transfer of finished products to Russia. I know that many countries have addressed us, companies from the high-tech sector, because they have encountered some very complicated, very sophisticated channels of supply to Russia. Aspect number two, which I would like to draw your attention to, is the provision of workforce. Dozens of companies reached out to us because they were wondering what opportunities they had in recruiting personnel in order to move some production processes to Uzbekistan. The situation has changed, and still this control-free influx of labor migrants to Russia will be at an end soon. And so the companies are already starting to look for the options to provide labor resources to the production processes. Uzbekistan is a very comfortable place, let's say, because we are close to Russia, and we don't have any language barriers, or it is very low. And finally, there is a good industrial tradition. metallurgy, machine building, mining industry. They are all very well known traditionally for Uzbekistan. The main message of my presentation, I hope that the current situation will change sooner or later. But currently, Uzbekistan is one of the most comfortable places for Russian business, for Russian producing business. So supply of components being point number one, and quality workforce being point number two. Oh, thank you. You know, in Business Russia, we perform a lot of events. We exchange information on various types of activity. None of these events has ever been simple. We always require high competences. We always require plans, knowledge, finance. Questions of workforce are becoming some of the most important questions in today's Russia. The questions about yuan payments, I hope that a powerful support group is currently in China, and we expect some assistance from them. I would like now to give the floor to Igor Valerievich Povaraznyuk. My script says that he is Russian Elon Musk. Yesterday I wrote your CV. I read about your profile. You are one of the top 30 Russian youngest entrepreneurs. Your project is an interesting one. And I think there was a large entrepreneur who also tried to tackle this product, and he also wanted to be president at some point. I hope that your project will be implemented. And my questions to you will be as follows. Can your project of an electrical vehicle be an ideal point of cooperation for technologies from partnering states? Are you looking at the territories of the OIC countries for placing your production? And if so, what advantages do you see therein? If no, what prevents you from making this decision?
Well, thank you for this teaser. Of course, I would not presume that I'm as ambitious as Elon Musk in any way, but we went all the way from the 10-page presentation, the deck, all the way to today, when we're about to launch serial production. We've developed our e-car, e-vehicle, the first Russian, truly Russian e-vehicle platform, which is very important. Both Konstantin and Anna, I think they've shared a very important comment, i.e. that Russia, from the standpoint of projects that need to get lended, that need to get supported, since a certain point of time it was high-tech and innovations. Luckily, we've been able to accumulate a number of such competences lately. So on e-vehicles, e-cars, it's not just about car making, it's not just about automotive, but it's also about digital technologies, digital platform, digital competencies that have been accumulated in Russia over the past decade. And now they're being, quote-unquote, lended as lended in the form of this complex gadget being an electronic car with stringent demand requirements to security, to cybersecurity. We have to develop over 1,000 parts. We have to also make sure that tens of thousands of lines of code must be developed that must be seamlessly integrated. So it's a mix of competencies. We're talking about graphic developers from the gaming industry, competences of fintech, as well as integration of food tech technologies, because a car or a vehicle for e-commerce should be able to be integrated with food tech operators. For, let's say, for food delivery. This is the type of set of competences that has never existed before. So now we're actively looking at the so-called rate tech, i.e. car sharing, taxi, and delivery. So these are the industries that would be the target industries for the e-vehicle. So when it comes to a number of OIC countries, this type of transport is in high demand. In any modern city, major city, these three components, taxi, car sharing, and e-commerce, are are what combines, let's say, it connects what gets connected into a single system. They should be able to collaborate to communicate with the systems of a smart city. In this case, a smart city yields these new innovative features. What's important is the technology that we develop are platform-based. So when we collaborate with a certain OIC country, and if it's a successful cooperation, then based on these platforms, there's a chance to represent ATOM e-vehicle in this region, but also to offer other innovative products without investing all the way from the end, but to investing in the end product, because the target user may vary, may differ depending on a particular country, OIC country. So this platform has been, like I said, has been developed in Russia with a number of significant tech partners, including our shareholders. We feature a number of projects at the intersection of automotive and IT. We have the services, including services that would that include steer-by-wire operating systems, etc., self-driving technologies. In Russia, we're quite confident that we're nearing serial production. We have a functional prototype ready, and we ordered the equipment necessary for serial production. Our platform is finished, is developed. We have design documentation developed, and we showcased at the Moscow Expo for some time, and the feedback was quite positive on the part of the Russian consumers who did like it, who liked our product. And yeah, this yielded in pretty good numbers when it comes to pre-orders, and it's important that we have in Russia we have a structured and consistent policy on the part of the state, the government, the support that they offer to us. The government understands that transportation is not just about a car or a truck. It's an industry that comprises mobility services that should be over time converted into an electronic mode. So we showcase a product at various expos. Last year at Kazan Forum, for the first time, we showed our prototype. And we then showcased it to the chairman of the government of the Russian Federation at another expo. As we say, an e-vehicle is a digital product, and we demonstrated it to Raisa of the Republic of Tatarstan, as well as a number of other major corporations that take part in this project. So it's not. We mentioned Elon Musk. It's important that this project was not some kind of an abstract group of young entrepreneurs and enthusiasts. It was a project that in which both Google and eBay and Daimler and Toyota and the Ministry of Energy of the United States took part in the project. So we, in case of Elon Musk's business, so basically we're treading in the same direction, doing the same thing, basically. So. In conclusion, I should say that you can break it down into a number of various technologies, as you can see on the slide: autonomous driving, self-driving technology, electronics, cybersecurity, etc. So each of these components are separate, let's say, line of business. And so the level of development of certain OIC countries, and in terms of augmented reality, AI. There are expos relating with these technologies that take place. So I see great potential. I see high potential for cooperation, and because I represent a startup that they may not have a guaranteed market. In some sense, we are market makers. So in OIC countries, in addition to conventional set of tax breaks, let's say incentives for when it comes to rent, etc. Again, referring to Konstantin, he talked about multipliers, the potential of the market for public capital. It's important for such projects to raise funding, and not just loans, but also direct investments of such companies into such companies, as well as to support such companies in light of an IPO, successful IPO, including an IPO in OIC countries. So that's it from my side. Thank you very much, Igor. It's an impressive presentation.
И проект
For this impressive project of yours, the other day, a major Chinese e-car representative was asked, "Do you want to dominate in the European market?" No, he answered, "I just want to bring some diversity, to the market." So same, I think, can be said of your project. We also wish you every success. Thank you very much. Not just in the Russian market, but OIC markets. We have discussed in detail as to how the Russian companies can leverage support measures and what measures of support are implemented, are executed. I think it makes sense to talk about the Russian experience of such OIC, of such free economic zones that are established. And some of them have been in place for some time, for some years, a number of years now, considering the scope and size of the country. According to the Ministry of Economic Development, we have over 50 special economic zones in the nation with beneficial business terms, operating terms, including those for international investors. Mikhail, I'd like to ask you to share your experience, the experience of your organization. So last time we spoke, I think you demonstrated that our system of free economic zones was ready to accept and to lure in international players, as well as to cooperate with other free economic zones. The floor is yours. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. So first and foremost, the Russian Federation indeed is quite it has a mature platform for granting, for accepting, and for attracting international investors. We have over 50 technology parks and industrial parks, free economic zones in high technology and industrial parks, agro, bio, technoparks, radio, electronic industry, and there's a number of such industries, as well as special economic zones. We have 50 such zones in the country. And obviously, for any business that tries to enter an international overseas market, for the company, it's important to have the infrastructure, i.e., conferences, utilities, etc. When we talk about our cooperation as part of OIC, what I noticed, considering that I'm the last speaker, I believe, in this panel session. We all agree that it's great, everything's cool, and some people talk about their projects, some people talk about the particular special economic zone, some talk about their support measures offered by the government. What I noticed was there's no systemic and structured work in place. And I agree with Novicom Bank fully that business, what business wants is apparently he wants beneficial terms, financial terms. If a business understands that there's no there's sales in the market, then of course you have to try very hard to persuade that business, the company, to actually go ahead and enter the market. Let me show you how we work and how we see this cooperation going forward, especially under the auspices of OIC. Rules for doing business. For example, it was rightfully said that regulations, legislation, insurance, support measures. We're talking about a list of incentives that enable a bank, for example, to make the right and informed decision when it comes to to extending a loan to a company, for example, when you have government support measures that extend to business, companies that enter international markets, you should realize that something can be overlooked by that particular business, that particular company. Initially, it may look right, but when you start to execute a project, you end up with some some caveats or some issues. So let's start by saying that the economic feasibility of a certain investment project in a special economic zone or technology park, first and foremost, should be based on the need, on the demand on a particular market. Russia has over 60 industrial clusters overall. We mentioned this word several times. So let me explain what an industrial cluster means in the Russian Federation. In this country, it's a fixed term. The term is fixed in the legislation. It means a list of industrial companies that are in cooperation with each other and that engage in the manufacture of a finished product or finished products at various processing stages, all the way from raw materials to finished product. So after the certain events that took place 2 years ago in such industrial clusters in the Russian Federation, we had certain investment niches formed where investors should be lured into or attracted to make certain components, for example, that should be produced in order to provide continuous, non-stop production chain of a particular cluster. The management companies of such clusters, in accordance with the regulations, they're called specialized organizations of industrial clusters. They pick and choose a particular company to offer it to, whether it's a Russian business that wants to get diversified and wants to produce a certain product, or be it an international investor. When you have this menu offered, a menu of products, whereby any subject of the Russian Federation is interested in promoting investment, international investment, for example. This is the answer to an international investor as to why that investor should should be a member of a particular free economic zone or technology park of the Russian Federation. Number one, and number two, it's important to understand when we hear the words Uzbekistan, UAE. I extrapolate this to how this would work in the Russian Federation. There are different approaches, of course. Some support measures may vary, and regulatory support, etc. So this systemic work, building a harmonization and of the key parameters when executing such projects in free economic zones of a particular country, this is something we're lacking, something we still don't have. And as my colleague from Novicom Bank mentioned, when it comes to consulting documentation that would support the investor to understand where to go, how to form a legal entity, how to open a bank account. It's not so easy to do in certain countries. How to run your business, how to pay taxes, and how much to pay. So this is something we're lacking. So what do we do when it comes to BRICS countries, as an example? So when we receive requests from companies, majority of the free economic zones, special economic zones, industrial parks are part of the members of our association, so we get their requests. So in return, we propose BRICS countries to establish an international association of free economic zones of BRICS countries. What for do we need to do that? No one wants to say that this is direct what to do and how to do, but we just should speak the same language from the standpoint of terminology, notions, conditions, norms. When you put forth investment projects at certain facilities. So obviously, it's important to feel support of other countries, BRICS countries, or in the form of an association that would explain, take us by the hand, so to speak, and show us around, and help us understand how to get, let's say, a bank loan, or how to sort out the utilities, etc. So this is the work we do work we did with the BRICS countries. We held the first contact group meeting as part of 9 countries, BRIC countries. We discussed possibility of such cooperation. This is in September 2024. Hopefully, we'll be able to sign this intergovernmental agreement on cooperation of free economic zones in BRICS countries. And in this light, I should say that this could be a solution of this could be a solution for OIC countries. In the Russian Federation, I should say that we have described in detail the infrastructure that we have, the technology parks, free economic zones. We have the corresponding business navigators that have detailed description and the whole set of documentation, all the way from the phone number of the director, megawatts required, the electricity required, etc. So we are prepared to share this experience, with this expertise with other countries, so that it's clear for the Russian business that, let's say, in the OIC countries, there's similar support offered. Second, we are working closely on sustainable growth, sustainable development. So I know that sustainable development goals are being tended to in many countries, and there are different approaches when it comes to infrastructure, platforms, industrial parks, special economic zones, based on the international experience, based on, or let's say, referring to the regulatory enactments of the Russian Federation. We have developed this standard, and we have already registered in Rosstandart. We have registered it, and we recommend it for the application in the infrastructure platforms in the Russian Federation. We're also prepared to share this expertise, and we're sure to extrapolate it on OIC countries, to implement such rules and regulations in such OIC countries. In conclusion, I should also say, of course, the Russian Federation is prepared to, using the infrastructure we have, to host, to greet and welcome international investors. Just like in other Islamic countries, like in UAE, Iran, Uzbekistan, we are prepared. But the question is, in fact, these are the problems that our companies, our member companies, suggest. If I invest CAPEX, let's say, we build production, we build a production facility. What if something goes wrong? What do I do with it? What if something goes wrong and I'm not able to sell the products? And in this case, I should ask the moderator to put forth a proposal as a result of this panel session. So this is a part of the resolution of the forum. In terms of putting forth proposals for the execution of such investment projects from the capital investment standpoint, the equipment, okay, fine. So we call it non-fixed assets. But when it comes to fixed assets, we should probably think about this. And maybe we should put forth such a proposal or initiative to the Russian government, so that such support measures could be applied to the Russian businesses, Russian companies. Thank you very much.
Спасибо, Mikhail.
Thank you very much, Mikhail. And when I first learned about your activities and the way you were doing them, I was really impressed as to how you are selecting your sites, your environments for production sites. I would say each and single one of them are tailor-made. When we are discussing these sites, we discuss how they should look like. Should they be long? Should they be short? Should they be square or rectangular or whatever? And I agree that you are raising a very important question in support of financing in creating production facilities in free economic zones. We've been discussing that for about 5 years. In the past 2 years, we saw some support from Ministry of Industry and Trade, from Mr. Chekoshov. Yes, we will be happy to assist you in this as well. We see long-term prospects in this aspect. We see the future in exchange of information between free economic zones. Okay, yes, forums and business missions are okay, but very local, pinpointed work. You come, you shake hands, you sign an agreement. What next? The next is make this local systemic work. When we would come to local places, that we would be speaking the same language, using the same terminology. So that's what I'm speaking about. Yes, but in my opinion, the companies which are interested in opening their sites in special economic zones, maybe they don't even have to do that by themselves. Maybe they should fill out a very detailed form and then come there and just start working, like picking up their order from a delivery site. We have our representatives in Dubai. We have our representatives elsewhere, and we are commuting there as if it were our workplace. Thank you very much for a very productive discussion. If you have any questions in the audience. Okay, I think we've been quite specific on our information. So I would like to thank all the speakers and participants. Our time is up. Thank you.